Ms. Robinson is here to prove that Mr. Parker is the biological father of her 23-month-old daughter, Tanila. Mr. Parker isn't sure, though. Their wedding was put off because he was sure the child was not his. Everything will depend on the DNA findings that come out today.
Ms. Robinson, you're here desperately trying to save your relationship. You've petitioned the court for a DNA test to prove to the defendant, Mr. Parker, that he is the father of your 23-month-old daughter, Tanila.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Parker, you put your wedding on hold because you're positive you are not the father.
Wait a minute. Mr. Parker knew she was cheating on him, but he still stayed? He didn't say anything when he saw her holding hands with another guy in the park. What did you wait for, sir? A message from above?
She started to be more distant herself, and the calls started not coming in. She didn't start showing up.
Towards you.
Yes, you were.
I was spending multiple times with you.
Someone else. She started not coming, home a lot, and things started changing everything. Then,
Your Honor, we was not living together. I was living with my grandmother. We were spending nights.
Ms. Robinson, really say that right now. She lied to him about being pregnant and didn't tell him about the baby until 5 months after it was born. And now she wants to fix things with him. This woman should get a prize for how well she plays hide and seek.
Met somebody else, I did my own thing. I wasn't really too much worried about her. Then all of a sudden, things started to come back around. She came to my house. I asked her, I was so shocked at her. I was like, hey, how you doing today? I seen a long time ago. And all of a sudden, it was a baby there. So I'm like, who's this baby of yours? And she was like, this your child. And I said, what, my child? What do you mean, my child?
It gets worse. Mr. Parker finds out about the baby when she just shows up at his house with a child in her arms. Imagine walking in and hearing someone say, surprise, you have a son. That is really dramatic.
So when you first found out you were pregnant, did you contact Mr. Parker at all?
During my pregnancy, Your Honor, no, I have not.
You didn't?
No.
Were you with anybody else during that time?
Yes, Your Honor, I was.
This part is crazy now. Because she was scared, she didn't tell him she was pregnant. What are you scared of? It didn't bother her to tell the other guy that he was the father. Please explain how that makes sense, ma'am.
I was nervous, Your Honor. I was going through my pregnancy hormones, and I was just distraught. I was going through a lot. I was nervous. I didn't know how to go about coming to him with the bad news.
What bad news?
That I was sleeping around with someone else.
The story gets stranger. This is what Mr. Parker just learned in court. The other man signed the birth certificate. He should have let someone else claim his child if it was really his. I would be seeing red if I were him.
This other guy had signed the birth certificate, and also I knew that he would be devastated. I didn't know how to come to him and just say, oh, well, the other guy had signed her birth certificate.
But you don't let somebody sign a birth certificate just because they're there.
You're right, Your Honor.
The truth about Ms. Robinson was just told to her sister in court. She moved from Chicago to help take care of this child, and now she knows she was lied to the whole time. I will be leaving during the hearing.
I want to know this, Mr. Parker. Once she came to you when Tanila was 5 months old, what happened then?
My whole life changed. Your Honor, I was like...
Happy?
I was happy, you're right. I was excited, I felt like I was on heaven. That was everything in the world to me. I saw this little girl with mama in my ear telling me, oh, she looked just like you when you was a baby and everything.
She now pulls out a percentage chart. She says she had 80% of her personal relationships with Mr. Parker and 20% with the unknown man. DNA doesn't care about the odds, ma'am. It only needs to be done once.
Ms. Robinson, you are...
I'm her sister.
What do you know about this?
I talk to her a lot on the phone. I hear her crying a lot. I moved down here from Chicago to help her out. I keep the baby for weeks at a time. I provide financially for the baby. She wants to go to school. I must say, financially wise, he's good. He's excellent with them too.
Mr. Parker is very sad. He has been mentally and financially present for 2 years. His whole world is about to change. Things are at stake more than ever.
So you said you knew the whole time that the child was Mr. Parker's, even though you lied and said it was the other guy?
Yes, sure.
How can you be so certain if you were with both of them during the window of conception?
I had sex with Mr. Parker more than I did the other guy. We had sexual relations probably once or twice a week.
Okay, now it's time. Now that the results are in, let's just say that this courtroom is about to blow up.
Mr. Parker, you are not Tanila's father.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
Sis!
I'm sorry.
It's like a whole year wasted, man. Don't want to be her dad.
This case is already going off the rails. It's said that Ms. Rawlings told Mr. Kidd that he was the father of her child. but then she changed her mind and chose someone better. But Ms. Rawlings won't back down. She says she was in 2 relationships at the time and didn't know who the father was.
Mr. Kidd, you say Ms. Rawlings is a manipulative user who convinced you that you were the father of her son, Nathaniel, then changed her mind when someone better came along. Ms. Rawlings, you say Mr. Kidd is fully aware he is not Nathaniel's father, as he himself told you he cannot have children.
We're just getting started, but this is making me think of a soap series. In notes she sent him while he was away, she told him the baby was his, but now she says she never told him that? There's something wrong. This is a clear case of mind games.
We were in a serious relationship, and I was actually at some point, once I left from being around Mr. Kidd, that I was actually staying with him.
So how often were you with Mr. Kidd and how often were you with the other guy?
Now for the plot twist. It's true that Ms. Rawlings was in a back and forth with 2 guys. Every day with Mr. Kidd and every other day with that other guy. What, ma'am? How could you be sure that one of the guys you were seeing was the father if you were seeing both of them all the time? The judge is done with this already.
Your Honor, it's not a rare blood disease.
Okay, so Mr. Kidd, did you ever tell Ms. Rawlings you didn't believe you could have children?
Yes, ma'am. I informed her of the situation because I'm typically in a long-term relationship. I've never had any kind of hiccups.
The mom of Mr. Kidd is not joking. She is sure that this baby is her grandson. She even showed proof in the form of posters. It feels like the mother-in-law is ready to take this child for herself. Ms. Rawlings, on the other hand, is sticking to her story that she didn't know who the father was at first.
And at that time, were you aware your son was in a relationship with Ms. Rawlings?
No.
We've never been in a relationship.
So it wasn't just a sexual relationship?
No, ma'am. We were just, she just needed somewhere to stay. So I was just looking out for her, and it just became a sexual encounter.
After that, things get crazy. Ms. Rawlings briefly gave her baby to Mr. Kidd's mom, and she has a note written by hand to prove it. How is this case still getting worse? The courtroom can't believe what's happening. Why would she give the baby to his mom if she wasn't sure Mr. Kidd was the father?
His friend who gave me Miss Rawlings' number, I called her. We talked for a couple weeks, and I asked if I could see the baby, and she said yes. We were at a park. He was in a car or a stroller, and I said hey to her. I said, but you know what I'm here for, and I went straight to the baby. Picked him up, had said, hey, Sugarfoot, and he smiled, and we played, and it was honestly the best day of my life.
Science is here to make things better or worse. There is a rare blood disorder in Mr. Kidd that might make it hard for him to have children, but not impossible. Now, everyone has doubts about everything. The judge calls in a medical professional to clear things up because things are getting too crazy in this room.
Well, the court wanted to get down to the bottom of this particular situation because we were very concerned about this information and wanted to be accurate in our assessment of it. So we've called upon one of our experts, Dr. Jamila Gator.
The doctor is now inside the building. He talks about how illness in childhood could make people less fertile, but not unable to have children. There is a huge amount of stress in the room. The mother of Mr. Kidd is nodding like she just got it right, while Ms. Rawlings shakes her head. Things just got more dangerous.
We have spoken with Mr. Kidd about a medical issue. What is your assessment?
So I think there's 2 separate issues here. There was an issue about RH blood incompatibility.
Yes.
And that has to do with a mother and a baby, and if there's different blood types between the father of the baby, positive and negative. But that really doesn't have anything to do with the ability to father a child.
Okay.
We've reached the moment of truth. The envelope is with the judge. There is silence in the whole courtroom. Are you ready for the truth? Mr. Kidd is still, his mother is praying in his ear, and Ms. Rawlings looks like she might pass out. All of that will change after the results.
No, ma'am.
And Ms. Jenkins and Mr. Kidd, if Nathaniel is proven not to be your biological child, grandchild, do you still want to maintain a relationship?
I'm gonna be devastated, because, that's supposed to be my first child. And I'll be around, I'll help out as much as I can, but I couldn't take care of him as if he was my child.
All right, I think I've heard enough. I'm ready for the results. Jerome?
That's it. It looks like Ms. Rawlings is scared, Mr. Kidd is moving, and his mom is just sitting there like she knows the answer. Let us see what the result says.
Mr. Kidd, you are the father.
Things are about to get even stranger in this case, which is already very strange. Mr. Rice is said to be the father of Ms. Johnson's 6-month-old son, Jeremiah. Mr. Rice doesn't believe it. He's sure he's not the dad and even thinks he knows who he is.
Ms. Johnson, you have summoned the defendant to court today to prove that he fathered your 6-month-old son, Jeremiah.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Rice, you say you are 100% certain you are not her child's biological father.
Right away, it's clear that Mr. Rice has never even met the child. He wasn't at the hospital or during the pregnancy, and he wants to get a DNA test before he even thinks about taking the lead. His reason? Strong worries. And the way things are going, those questions are about to be put to the test.
We had sex, and I found out I was pregnant in September.
Back when we first met, back in high school, I've always had a crush on her. You know, when she needed something, you know, I would be there for her. You know, even when she needed a shoulder to cry on, I was just that person to be there.
Okay, so you all have a history.
Yeah, and I finally got my shot, and I decided to take it.
They started dating as a way to get back together, Ms. Johnson says. She broke up with her boyfriend and started dating Mr. Rice to feel better. 2 months later, she gets pregnant. The really bad news is that she broke up with him right after telling him about the baby. Sir, the time doesn't seem right.
Just a regular doctor's appointment. I wasn't feeling good, and when I got in there, she said, she was like, Ms. Johnson, you're pregnant. And I was like, what? And me and Mr. Rice had already talked about, you know, he said he wanted kids, and I didn't think it was a problem. I thought he would be happy that I was pregnant. And he was happy.
Mr. Rice says he was thrilled until she threw him a curve. She told him the baby might belong to her ex-boyfriend. Wait a minute. To top it all off, there is an STD issue. Mr. Rice was checked and found not to have it. He doesn't like what he sees as he puts the pieces together.
Because I knew him just like he knew him. So I messaged him and was like, have you seen Mr. Rice? And he was like, he hasn't seen him, but when he does, he'll tell him, you know, I told him to tell him I was pregnant. And he told him.
And so I called her, I got on the phone with her, and I was talking to her, and I was excited about it. You know, I was thrilled, I was happy.
Mr. Rice is doing the math while Ms. Johnson acts relaxed. In October, she told him she was 1 month pregnant. That means the baby should have been born in June. He was born in April, though. There are some problems with this story, and Mr. Rice is sure that he was tricked into thinking he is the father.
That doesn't make sense to me at all, Your Honor, because
I
wasn't having sex with anybody but him during the time. So there was no way that he didn't have it because I wasn't sleeping with anybody else.
She was there when I took the test.
Yeah, I was there through everything. I'm the one that told him
And
to go
so
through.
you were told you don't have the STD.
It gets even stranger from here. Here comes the ex-boyfriend, Mr. Williams. He's been there from the beginning for everything from doctor visits to diaper changes. The judge then asked him who Ms. Johnson said was the father. He points to Mr. Rice. Hold on. If he had doubts too, why did he step up?
And you believe her ex is Jeremiah's biological father.
That means she was cheating already.
I haven't cheated on him. I haven't been with anybody else but Mr. Rice.
But it doesn't make sense, because right after we broke up, maybe a week or two later, she was right back with her ex.
The birth record is now added to the mix. For example, Samaj is James written backward. James is Mr. Williams' first name. Random event? I don't think so. Now, Mr. Rice is done. It's not a baby name. It's a secret message.
At this moment, Mr. Rice, you believe Ms. Johnson's ex-boyfriend is the father of Jeremiah, not you.
Because when she told me she was a month pregnant, it was in October. But if she was a month pregnant in October, the baby was supposed to be born in June. The baby was born in April.
This case is as complicated as a soap show, with men questioning and claiming to be the father of the same child and avoiding paternity tests. The judge is done. It's time for the DNA check.
Despite what she tells you?
Yes, ma'am.
You do.
Yes, ma'am.
So you think this is your biological child?
Yes, ma'am.
The biological father is Mr. Rice. You are the father.
When Mr. Carr walks into court, he has a good case and is even more sure that he is not Trinity's father. He says Ms. Vela broke up with him many times and blamed him for the child while avoiding a DNA test for 3 years. Today, he's going to get the truth.
Mr. Carr, you state that Ms. Villa is a notorious cheater who tried to pin her daughter Trinity on you. Ms. Villa, you admit to making mistakes in your relationship with the defendant. You and your best friend want to prove he fathered your daughter Trinity.
Things go crazy from here on out. Ms. Villa says she cheated on Mr. Carr, but she still wants him back. She thinks that they can move forward as a family once the tests show that he is the father. The judge still doesn't believe it.
You said you met a girl that you liked and you really wanted to try to build a relationship with her, but she was not acting in a way that was conducive to a committed relationship.
For an example.
So how did you find out she was cheating on you?
I can't believe how angry Mr. Carr is. He says Ms. Villa cheated on him 8 times with 8 different guys. Even though she tries to hide it, everyone already knows the truth. What makes him think he can trust what she says?
Oh, Your Honor, she
Yes,
cheated
it was.
8 different times with 8 different people.
8 different times with
Yes,
8
ma'am.
different people?
Yes, Your Honor.
In the beginning, no.
Hold on.
You're a liar.
Wait a minute. She cheated on you 8 different times with 8 different people?
Yes, ma'am.
When the date of conception is called into question, things get even more confusing. Mr. Carr says Ms. Villa slept with someone else on January 31st, and then with him on February 14th. But 3 days after that, she told him she was pregnant. That math doesn't make sense.
Me and her slept together on February the 14th. 3 days later, the 17th, she tells me that she's pregnant. I'm like, how are you pregnant?
Tony, you're a liar.
If we just slept together on the 14th, then how did you know that you're pregnant? How in the world do you know that you're pregnant?
Then, the shock from the back seat. She says she and Mr. Carr got pregnant while having sex in the back of a car while his friend was driving. This information is dropped so lightly that the judge can't believe it.
You had sex with Mr. Carr in the back of the friend's car while he was driving?
Yep.
And that's the day you think Trinity was conceived?
Yep.
With Mr. Carr?
Yep.
In the car?
Yes.
Mr. Carr is still not sure. He says Trinity wouldn't have been born on October 31st if she had been conceived on February 14th. That would have been 3 weeks too early. But Ms. Villa says her due date was actually November 21st, which means Trinity was born before it was time.
But Mr. Carr, you aren't so sure.
I'm not so sure, Your Honor. And it's hurtful because I have to
Mr.
live with
Carr-
this pain every single day.
Tony, you chose to
trying
do that.
Think
You
she
were
chose
there
for you
on
to go
and
cheat?
off, on and
Okay.
off.
Anyways.
So
I live with
Trinity,
this pain every
Trinity
day.
is 3 years old. Do you have a relationship with her?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm with her every day of the week, just about.
Then everything changes in a big way. When Ms. Villa's best friend is called to the stand, she tells everything. She says that Ms. Villa had a one-night stand with another guy during the time when they were meant to be together. The story gets stronger.
Life just doesn't work like that. And I'm not going to accept you just painting that picture of her because I know there has to be a yin to this yang. And I want to understand the type of relationship you've built with this beautiful little girl over the past 3 years and why it brings you to tears when you think about the fact that you may not be her biological father.
Mr. Carr goes crazy. For years, he has begged Ms. Villa to give him a DNA test, but she has always dodged the question. Everything is clear. She changed cities every time he tried to find out the truth. The judge doesn't like it.
You look at her and you see her smile. If we're being very honest, you also look and say, I wonder if she's mine. And that's also the pain behind those tears.
Yes, Mom. It's both ways. It's like a two-edged sword. It cuts both ways.
Then came the worst kind of betrayal. Ms. Villa says she got the idea for Trinity's middle name from a one-night stand. Mr. Carr is very sad. Now that 3 years have passed, he doesn't even know if this child is his.
So you say she's been running away from a DNA test.
Yes, Your Honor. I was in Alabama. She was in Tampa, Florida. I tried to hook the cases together. As soon as she received the letter, she moves from Tampa, Florida to Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
You were told I was moving.
From Muscle Shoals, Alabama, she moves to Decatur, Alabama.
The results are in. Everyone in the courtroom holds their breath. After years of questions, Mr. Carr, you are the father. He explodes with happiness and relief as he breaks down.
That's your beautiful little girl.
Yes, Mom.
Are you happy?
Yes, Mom. I finally got my closure.
I'm so happy. They say when we close one door, we open what?
Another door.
Right. So we've closed the door of doubt. Now we need to open the door of possibilities.
Already, this case is a mess. Mr. McCrory had questions about who the father of his daughter was, and he got shocking news. Now he looks at his son Keith Jr. and feels like, wait a minute. It turns out that the McCrorys took a brief break around the time Keith Jr. was conceived. And you, Ms. McCrory? She says she was with someone else at that time. Okay, Let's go.
Mr. McCrory, after you and your wife received shocking results in this courtroom surrounding your daughter's paternity, you returned home and realized you have good reason to doubt your son Keith's paternity. Ms. McCrory, you claim your daughter's results surprised you, but you're confident your husband fathered your 3-year-old son.
Things are already going badly, and we're only just beginning. She never brought up that other guy because Ms. McCrory was 100% sure Keith Jr. was her husband's son. She says, "Please excuse me. Ma'am, you just lied on this show and said that your daughter's father was your husband. Now, you want us to believe in you again? Make sense of it."
And Your Honor,
We're on the part where you find out you're
I wasn't
pregnant and
married
you
at the
slept
time.
with 2. No, we're not on the marital part.
Well, the fact is, it's his kid. 1,000% sure.
You're that certain.
Yes.
But you were also very certain when it came to Nevaeh. I remember this attitude. I don't forget. You acted just like this the last time you were in court about Nevaeh.
Here's the plot twist. There was more to the McCrory's break than that. There was no cold on the bed yet. People didn't answer the phone when Mr. McCrory called her for 2 days. And when he finally did, there was a guy in the background. Mr. McCrory had never seen that brother before, but she said it was her brother.
Let me rephrase. He didn't know you slept with someone else when you were broken up. Am I correct?
yes, Your Honor.
Because you said the bed wasn't even cold yet.
Yes, Your Honor. And see, the thing is the potential father, she would promise him, say she'd send him pictures and stuff like that, but she said she promised me she wasn't sending him pictures.
Now we have the mother-in-law intervention. The mom of Mr. McCrory is not having fun. She is sure that this is her grandson. She even had receipts with her. With posters and pictures, she's almost ready to take this child as her own. On the other hand, Ms. McCrory is sticking to what she said. She was sure all the time. Girl, get real.
So these are photos that you're afraid she's also sending to men.
There's nothing wrong with that picture.
Yes, Your Honor.
No, 'cause
I
it's
mean, the first one was just like not too long ago.
And those pictures, I mean, I wasn't even with him.
The first
and that's
one
just pictures,
was like
those pictures have been on
less than
Facebook
6 months
for
ago.
years, and I don't do that stuff no more.
Things get even stranger after that. For a while, Ms. McCrory gave the baby to her mother-in-law. This is proven by a handwritten note. "Why, ma'am? If you were so sure that you were Keith Jr.'s father, why did you give him back to him like an Amazon return? The courtroom is going crazy."
This was supposed to be my friend and her friend. He comes over our house, he chills out, he would come to the house and drink with us and crash on the couch for the night.
And this is the person she slept with?
Yes, Your Honor. If she's lying to me and it's not my son, I'm not gonna stay with her, I'm gonna leave her. I mean, I'm not gonna be with somebody who lied to me about my son.
So the stakes are that high?
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, science comes along to make things better or worse. Mr. McCrory has a rare blood issue that could make it hard for him to have children. It's not impossible, but it's also not simple. Now, everyone is giving this situation the side eye. The judge is so fed up that she calls in a doctor to clear things up.
And going through all this, Your Honor, it made me kind of think about things like, I mean, there was a time and period.
I'm not sitting here.
Ms. McCrory, give yourself a minute and then come back in. Let's finish this case. Mr. McCrory, this is the reason why you asked the court for a lie detector test.
Yes,
Because you
Your
don't have any trust.
I don't have any trust.
The doctor is inside the building. He tells her that Mr. McCrory's illness makes it harder for her to have children, but it doesn't mean she can't be a dad. The room is tense. The wife's mother is nodding as if she had just won the case, and Ms. McCrory is shaking her head as if her life is flashing before her eyes.
The truth is that there is at least one other possible father for Keith Jr.
Not to me, no. He is the father.
Well, we've heard this before, Ms. McCrory, and it didn't turn out the way you said, and that's what is making him so nervous.
Me nervous is that the other possibility is still on her Facebook today.
Now it's time for the truth. The envelope is with the judge. There is silence in the whole courtroom. There is silence around Mr. McCrory as his mother prays in his ear, and Ms. McCrory looks like she's about to pass out. Everything changes when you open that package and find the answer.
One man you admitted to your husband. You admitted that you did.
Yeah, I did.
Who is that person?
To someone else. It was mistakes when I got together, so he shouldn't be over there shaking his head because he's no better.
All right.
That's it. Now is the time. Mr. McCrory is getting ready to hit something, and Ms. McCrory looks like she's scared. His mother is just sitting there, acting like she knows the answer. Let us see what the test says.
Mr. McCrory, you are the father.
Yeah, I told you so.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm happy for you.
It's a wild ride with this case. Ms. Hines is here to show that Mr. Jackson, her ex-husband, is the father of her 22-month-old son, Matthias. But Jackson, he says it's not possible. Why is that? Because Ms. Hines was living with another guy at the time of conception. Please, sir.
Ms. Hines, today you've summoned your ex-boyfriend, Mr. Jackson, to court. You want to prove that he fathered your 22-month-old son, Matthias. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Hines won't give in. It was Christmas Eve, and they had sex in the car. When she told him she was pregnant, he said it was a Christmas gift. What the heck? But Mr. Jackson says no way. He tells her that he was with his family over the holidays and that she had another guy over.
What information do you have that would suggest that she was having
another
sex with
male
somebody
living
else?
with her, and it was a time that I was snooping around the house and I had seen a box because she says it was taking some stuff to storage. So I seen a box, and in that box it was some condoms in the box.
Now for the plot twist. Mr. Jackson has been looking into things. Men had sent her text messages, and one of them called her bouncy. He found condoms in a box at her house. Oh, sir is really making a case out here.
I mean, if you're snooping, why are you even with her then?
I've just seen so many things that seem shady.
So what you're saying is the instances of admitting she's cheating, the little lies, and those things were leading you to doubt her.
Leading me to doubt her.
Wait, Ms. Hines just dropped the bomb. She did sleep with her ex. The judge's office is shook. She says it happened before she met Mr. Jackson, though. At the same time, Mr. Jackson keeps looking into her, checking her phone and reading her texts, but he still doesn't know the answer.
Is brown hair like that? My brother was born with light brown hair.
Yeah, but my daughter looks exactly like me, like my
To be honest, if you look really closely at his hair is not jet black. And my son's hair was lighter than that.
Things are getting even stranger now. Mr. Jackson says he couldn't give Ms. Hines his full attention because she was living with someone else. But Ms. Hines says the man was leaving, and she didn't want him there. Jackson doesn't believe it. He says they took baths together, cooked for each other, and watched movies together. Sir thinks he walked into a love story, not a breakup.
So, Ms. Hines, what has Mr. Jackson done for Matthias? Is he involved? Does he help support him?
Behind closed doors, he's his son. Around other people, he's not. When we're together, that's his son. When we're not together, he's not his son.
And now the bills are out. Ms. Hines sends in Facebook texts that show Mr. Jackson flirting with a lot of women. Why are you mad, sir, when you did the same thing? The crowd is not pleased.
So, Ms. Hines, you've been struggling to support Matthias.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Jackson has contributed what?
4 outfits.
And you've been doing this by yourself?
I mean, I have my mom, and then I have my best friend.
Allow us to now talk about Matthias. Jackson has not been there. This child is being raised by Ms. Hines and her best friend. Who is your best friend? She's tired. She has done more for Matthias than Mr. Jackson, like teaching him how to use the potty. And when Ms. Hines asked for diapers for just $5, no, Mr. Jackson said, but then they paid for a taxi to go somewhere else. Thank you, sir.
You don't know that I've been potty training your son. You don't know that I spend money on your son. You don't know that one day she had no money for diapers and she called you and asked you for $5 and you told her no, but then you got a cab and went somewhere?
The last part is the results. There is silence in the room. Mr. Jackson is stressed. It looks like Ms. Hines is shocked. The judge reads the list of names.
Mr. Jackson, you are Matthias's father.
Okay. At least, if I can get
That's up to her.